Baseball is back, and there really is nothing like a home team advantage. That's why Team Toyota makes an obvious choice for your next vehicle purchase or service. With their MVP pricing guarantee, teammates reward program, and streamlined customer experience, their award-winning sales and service departments are there for all of your vehicle needs. A home team advantage is nothing without family and community. Their employees are part of the family, they're part of your town, and we're all part of the team. Visit teamtoyota.net and choose one of their 3 locations in Langhorne, Glen Mills, or Princeton.
What is going on? Well, this was going to be an exciting podcast, getting ready for a little trade deadline talk, little Austin Hayes talk. And about 15 minutes before we got on here, the news broke of Ranger Suarez going to the IL. I'm joined by Sean Kane, the host or the pre and post game producer. I'm Spencer McKercher. Dude, we were sitting there. We're getting ready. The Eagle Eye boys just wrapped up after another good training camp day. Yeah, we get the news that Ranger Suarez is going on the 15-day IL with a lower back tightness. The same lower back tightness that was bothering him before the All-Star break, that kind of kept him out of the All-Star game. So, and then the start the other day, he looked decent. Rob was happy with it, but I guess obviously the back tightness was still haunting him a little bit more.
Yeah, I was surprised. Like you said, I mean, he wasn't great in Minnesota, but there wasn't a lot of hard contact, just a kind of little bloopers here or there, and just kind of a little unlucky. I didn't think he pitched poorly. He didn't pitch great, but like you said, the next day, they were talking before Zach Wheeler's start the following day in Minnesota, and hey, Ranger's great according to Rob Thompson. He came out of it great, feeling good. So he thought he was kind of past whatever was bothering him. That long break during the All-Star break helped him out, and then all of a sudden now, obviously time will tell the extent of the time he'll miss, but he's going to miss. It's retroactive to July 24th. So I think, best case scenario, he comes back, August 8th, 9th, 10th during that road trip. But yeah, the starting rotations, which has been such a strength, it's getting stretched a little thin now. Taijuan Walker's on the IL, Ranger going on the IL. Wheeler, knock on wood, looked good in Minnesota, but he had his injury issues. Spencer Turnbull's out for another month at least. Colby Allard's up now, and Tyler Phillips, like you said, Spence, is your 4th starter. So it's hopefully Tyler Phillips can keep it up because they need some starting rotation health, and they need some production while these guys are on the shelf.
They really do. And literally right before we hit record here, we're like, well, I guess Tyler Phillips is the 4th starter now out of this rotation. You did mention Colby Allard got the start, or got the call up, I should say. When he came into spring training, he made that first start in Dunedin against the Blue Jays, and everyone was kind of like, all right, he was kind of like the big signing to a point. We're like, all right, we got another pitcher from the Braves, and but he's kind of struggled this year. He has a 5.61 ERA so far in 10 starts, 16 games, but his last 8 games, 44 innings, 42 hits, 14 earned runs, 42 Ks, and a 2.85 ERA. So Allard's kind of finding his groove as the summer goes on here, but I mean, dude, I guess, are we going to see it? Like we were kind of talking about before the show started here. Are we going to see Colby Allard maybe in the rotation? I know Rob Thompson talks here shortly. We'll add that into the pod here afterwards. But yeah, I mean, what are your expectations for Allard now as he kind of gets his first look at this big league team?
Yeah, I'm hope for the best. I'm not confident that Colby Allard's going to come in and obviously not be anywhere near Ranger at his best. But if Colby Allard, I don't think it's fair to expect him to do what Tyler Phillips has done, but if he can be a 5-inning, 3-run guy when it's his turn, if it's his turn, assuming he does get a turn, I think that's all you can really hope for. Get well soon, Taijuan Walker. Who would have thought we'd been saying that a couple of weeks ago? Dude. But and another thing too with the rotation, Rob Thompson's been hinting pretty strongly that he wants to go to a 6-man rotation for a little bit, just to give the Wheelers and Nolas and Sanchez's and Ranger, if he were healthy, just another day to try to keep those guys fresh. That seemed like something he was really leaning towards. Well, that's, a little tougher to do now if you're 6 or, right. Wheeler, Nola, Sanchez, but then you got to go Phillips, Allard, and Taijuan if he comes back. That's tough. So we'll see how that impacts the pitching plans moving forward. But it's not good news. It's certainly not good news at this point of the season.
Yeah, and we were harping on health being a huge factor all season. the bad luck that the Braves has gotten, even with our good buddy Whit Merrifield going down there and kind of whatever happened to his finger and his first, warm-ups. But, the injury bug will always strike no matter what. And the Phillies have gotten very, very lucky so far to not have it affect them too much. But now with Ranger, I don't know. It's gonna be tough, I think. But I'd rather this happen at the end of July, especially pre-deadline. I wonder if this changes Dave Dombrowski's mindset, in the final 3 days here before the trade deadline.
Yep.
But yeah, man, it's tough. I'd rather this happen now, and hopefully Ranger can just rest up, finally figure out what this back tightness is, and can be ready for September and obviously October then. So
yeah, the trade deadline point is a good one. I think the Phillies have been linked to some starters as it is, given the health of certain guys, and this I think will only really maybe push Dave Dombrowski to be a little more aggressive. And who knows? Obviously, I'm sure he does have some back issues going on. Maybe they think he obviously hasn't been as effective, and he hasn't been as sharp, and he hasn't just had that presence on the mound. So he just seems a little bit off, Ranger. So maybe they're thinking, all right, give him a couple weeks here, kind of hit the reset button. But we'll see, because he was so good. He was lights out the first 2.5 months of the season. But
dude, you brought it up. I think Michael said you put it in Michael's ear the other day. The 9-0 start with whatever the ERA was, and now in his last
1
10,
win since.
Yeah, it's crazy.
One win in the last 2 months.
Yeah. And listen, the people that are on social media that are kind of giving making the excuse that his family came up, and ever since his family came up, it's been come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on. It's the ebbs and flows of baseball. We knew, were we happy that Ranger was the Cy Young favorite? Of course we were. That was awesome. But you knew the guy's never thrown that many innings in his life to start the season. You knew that the breaks were going to slow down eventually.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's, a healthier Ranger as we push towards the playoffs. But let's transition, dude. The big news on Friday. We wanted to pod out on Friday, but things happen and all that. But the big news, Austin Hayes, who is now batting ninth on Saturday here as we sit down and record this about 3 hours before game time. Yeah, man. What are I texted you right away. I was shocked at first, just in terms of sending Sir Anthony Dominguez and Christian Pache to the Orioles to get a platoon guy. It was kind of shocking, but then, as the nerves and whatever else, the feelings kind of subside a little bit, it was like, all right, you know what? I kind of like this trade a little bit. What are your thoughts? Yeah,
it wasn't really a name we had heard. There was plenty of outfield bat names being thrown around, and Austin Hayes wasn't one of them. But Dave Dombrowski, as he said on Friday, he's been after him the last couple of years. So it's a guy they held in high regard, and the Orioles got a lot of young talent down there in the outfield, and he kind of got pushed out a little bit, and he wasn't as productive not playing every day, which he was kind of used to the last couple of years. And both Dave Dombrowski and Rob Thompson mentioned that, he started for the American League in the All-Star game last year. So
just a year ago.
Yeah, the talent's there. The guy has some pop from the right side of the plate. And I think in Camden Yards, too, one thing, and I know you're aware, that they moved that left field fence back
correct
30, 40 feet a couple of years ago. So I think his power might play a little better in Citizens Bank Park in left field. He only has 3 home runs. And you're looking at his power numbers, what's going on. So I think that ballpark's a little tough on righties. But no, I like it. And, obviously Sir Anthony's a guy that's been around for a while. He's had his moments. He's had his ups and downs. Christian Pache, I just felt he was always kind of redundant on this roster with Rojas as a defense-first outfielder. Wasn't giving you much offense. But to get a guy like Austin Hayes, who they're high on, who they think can be a guy that it sounds like they want him to play the bulk of the bulk of the playing time in left field, and maybe even have Marsh and Rojas be more of the platoon in center. But to get a guy like that and not give up any prospects at all, I like it. It'll be interesting to see if there's more to come. There's definitely going to be more to come on the bullpen front, but it'll be interesting to see now what's next. But that's my long way of saying I like the Austin Hayes move, and I think they're high on him, and I think they can get a little more out of him if he's in the lineup every day, which he was not in Baltimore.
And I was going to ask you, we heard Rob, he didn't really say it right away, but he's not going to be a platoon guy. Right. He doesn't see Austin Hayes as a platoon guy.
Yep.
Dave Dombrowski said he was going to leave that up to Rob. And then obviously we heard from Austin Hayes after the game on Friday and said, whatever works, I will be here ready to go. I guess we're going to see a platoon of, I know our good buddy Todd Zalecki came out and said in his podcast today that, he saw Johan Rojas go into the office with Rob Thompson last night, and they had a long conversation. So maybe that is a conversation that we'll see Brandon Marsh and Yohan Rojas platooning center field, and Austin Hayes will get the majority of starts in left.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to at this point,
Yeah.
given what Marsh is not giving you offensively. Like he's hurt clearly. Like he
But
has the elbow
yeah.
issue, and I think they're kind of downplaying it because, Ricky Bottalico last weekend when they were in Pittsburgh kind of noticed Brandon Marsh in the cage before a game, like, what's going on? And he was in the lineup that night and he played, but he's kind of grimacing after his swings. Then he doesn't play the first night in Minnesota. So something's up there. And I think it's more than they're letting on. Like, I think it must be impacting him because he is not hitting. He struggles against lefties, but he is not hitting righties now either. He's, I saw somewhere he doesn't have a hit. I know the All-Star break's involved, but he doesn't have a hit since like July 12th or whatever it is, like pre-All-Star break. And they just need Hayes to give him more pop, more punch. And I think Rojas and Marsh at this point are going to have to kind of be the platoon in center field and just hope for some good defense out there. And whatever those guys give you at the plate could be a bonus.
And that's the thing. It sounds like they're high on his defense too. Even more. Poor Weston Wilson had some struggles out there in left field too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm really excited. Like I said, I think it was just more shock, and you kind of sit back and realize like the decline of Sir Anthony Dominguez and how that just became like the sixth option in the bullpen. When we started, I was like a little upset that they let him go, just because of what he's done in the playoffs the last 2 years, and obviously everyone remembers the game 5 or game 4 of the NLDS in 2022 with the sleeping salute there to the Braves as he struck out. I think it was d'Arnaud, but and then you like sit back and look at it and you're like, man, that guy, we haven't seen him in a very long time. And then what's he do? He ends up pitching yesterday on Friday in Baltimore. Yeah. But just thoughts on Sir Anthony real quick. Just thank you, I guess. But like also just what happened to Sir Tony?
Yeah. I thought it was cool. He had some really nice things to say last night after the Orioles game about his time. And he hopes the Phillies do well and go back to the World Series. And which is great because, he was here. You don't realize how long he was here when you factor in the Tommy John, the time he missed with the Tommy John surgery. But when he first came up, he was electric. And then obviously the surgery, they tried to avoid it. He had it. But then, he came back and he was really productive once he was healthy. And in 2022 postseason, he was awesome. He had some really big moments. But then he just wasn't the same last year. Didn't have the same stuff, and more importantly, I think didn't have that same confidence. You could tell he wasn't too confident in his ability to get outs in big spots, and Rob Thompson, obviously, and I think rightfully so, didn't really trust him in big spots as time went on last year into this season. So, wish him well in Baltimore. Maybe he's a change of scenery guy. Obviously, that's what the Orioles are banking on. They want some help in that bullpen because. Yeah. Another one of our former friends, Craig Kimbrell, has been struggling lately. So they're trying to, just take a flyer on Sir Anthony. So, but no, I don't, looking at it strictly objectively, what the Phillies gave up and what they got, I think they won that deal. Yeah. Time will tell. But to get Austin Hayes, a guy that, has a bit of punch offensively for what they gave up in Pache and Dominguez, I'm good with it.
Yeah, and I saw a tweet from our good friend Destiny Lagarda, who, she's like, in a weird world, there's a time where it's the World Series and Sir Anthony Dominguez and Craig Kimbrell shut out the Phillies to clinch a World Series.
That would be something.
That would be insane. But even Pache, we were talking about it before the pod. They have so much outfield depth. They got rid of Hayes, who's been one of their best players the last few years. You mentioned he was an All-Star in 2023. Now they add Pache, who, in 272 appearances, he batted like 212 over the last 2 years. He just never found it. And he still hasn't found it as that top ranked prospect with the Braves. He just hasn't found it. I don't know how long he lasts in Baltimore either, unfortunately. And just because they already have so much depth down there in the outfield. Look, they just got rid of Hayes for Pache. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting for old Christian.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll always have that home run he hit in Miami last year.
Baby.
That game winner he hit. Then afterwards through former interpreter Diego Otegi said, "That was a man that hit that ball."
That's right.
Did you know it was out when you hit it? Oh yeah, strong.
That's strong,
man that hit that ball. That was one of the funnier translated interviews I've seen in a while. So I'll always remember that. Obviously, a good defensive player. He did seem popular in the clubhouse. Like, you're over there more than I am. He definitely seemed to be a pretty popular figure over there. A lighthearted guy. Everybody seemed to like him. So you wonder if that might impact some of his buddies over there. Hopefully not. But yeah, he wasn't bringing a whole lot to the table in terms of everyday production.
Yeah, and it kind of, again, we've talked about it on this pod, you found that balance, right? Of, he's probably one of the funnier guys in the clubhouse. Everyone loves him. Literally, everyone always was messing with him, and he was messing back. But it comes to a point where you're like, all right, dude, just you're best friends with all these guys, but you also have to perform. Yeah. You have to come in, and especially if you're platooning with Marsh, you have to put up better numbers than you did. and time will tell. That obviously didn't happen. So all the best to Pache and Sertone. Man, I'm going to miss Sertone. Also, just another great guy in the clubhouse. Just one of the funnier guys. Would always kind of like mess with us and the reporters and all that stuff. So
you can have the chief vibes officer, but you don't need like a whole cabinet of vibes guys.
The cabinet.
At some point you need some guys that contribute on the field, which Garrett Stubbs does. He's a good backup catcher in his role. Don't mean to belittle him, but you don't need the vibes guys. It's good to have a few of them, but like at some point, let's help us win baseball games
for sure. And I do think Austin Hayes will. I think he'll find his way into this clubhouse and vibing well.
Celebrity cook Steve Martirano brings his Italian-American cooking back home to Philly. Enjoy Martirano's Prime at Rivers Casino and Steve's famous meatballs with Sunday gravy, prime steaks, and more. Make reservations for Martirano's Prime on OpenTable.
Yeah, by the way, you mentioned Marsh. The guy hasn't had a hit since July 11th. He went 2 for 4 in the series finale against the Dodgers.
Yeah.
That's the last time we saw Brandon Marsh get a hit. Yeah, we're looking at, 0 for 1, 0 for 4, 0 for 3, 0 for 1, 0 for 2, 0 for 1, 0 for 3, 0 for 4 with a run scored in the series finale in Minnesota, and then 0 for 4 last night on Friday. So
it's crazy. Like there's so many things that make you realize just how long a baseball season is.
Correct.
Think about April, and he came out and he was like, he's their best hitter in April.
He was leading the league or leading the team in home runs.
Oh boy, this is it. The Brandon Marsh breakout years here. And again, I know he's hurt. And even Dombrowski yesterday, he was asked, like, are you surprised? He's like, yeah, I'm surprised that he hasn't shown that growth against left-handed pitching.
Yeah.
We know it's in there, and I'm a little surprised it hasn't happened. Again, it could be related to whatever's going on with his elbow. But yeah, no, April, I really thought, okay, this is great.
Yeah.
Imagine this guy's going to give us such length in the lineup.
Yep.
To have him down there hitting 7th or 8th behind the big boys up top, like this guy, it's going to be great. And it just kind of, he had the hamstring. Now he's got another issue dealing with, and the production has just been, he just doesn't. The at bats haven't really been competitive.
No,
which is weird.
Yeah, I think you're right, and
it's
almost like with Stott too, right? There was all these expectations, and the guy also, it's good to see him go yard on Friday finally. That was a beautiful swing. It was great, and kind of woke up and he had the Phillies fans.
2 hard hit singles too,
for sure.
Hits, so let's hope he gets.
So maybe just need a little home cooking after the long All-Star break there, and the little road trip afterwards. But real quick, I guess if we're talking about struggling hitters, real quick, and then we'll get to some trade deadline stuff here. We were talking about it before the show here. I know I keep saying that. A lot of good conversation before the old Phillies Talk.
24/7,
especially in the office. Sure. Always a good time. But Kyle Schwarber hasn't had a multi-hit game since June 22nd.
Yeah,
and it feels like that. That's why I just sit back and be like, why we haven't seen him? June 22nd is the last time, and it was like June 11th since his last 3-hit game.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, no, because he had at one point he had his average up there and like the high 250s, and the on base and he was. In June doing his thing, but yeah, he's another guy that's just kind of been it's not clicking for him. You know, like he'll hit a ball hard and then he can't build on it, and it's just kind of sporadic with his production. And he's just, we've seen how important he is to their lineup and what they like to do and how he kind of sets the tone up top. But yeah, they need him to get going. Right? It's the offense. I mean, I'm trying to think if you add on Friday night's 1 run, that's what? 11 runs in their last 5 games, dating back to, or 4 games dating back to the Pittsburgh series or whatever it's been. They had 4 runs and they lost in the series finale in Minnesota. But other than that, it's been fewer than 4 runs. It's been, and you're just asking way too much of. And Harper's gotten a little cold. Yep. You just, that length in that lineup, it hasn't been there. Hopefully Stott, like you said, picks it up. But Schwarber and Turner's been hot. But it's been a struggle offensively, and not good timing when you coincided with the injuries to the pitching staff. So. Yeah,
and I think it goes to, I was on with Amy today on her radio show, 97.5, and we were talking about it. Like, she was like, how are the vibes? And I'm like, the vibes are fine. But I think even talking about Schwarber, like you said, when he's not going, I feel like this lineup doesn't go.
Right.
Him not having a hit, in a multi-hit game in almost a month, longer than a month now.
Yeah.
And it feels like that. And it's almost, it's kind of like that he's that light or the leadoff guy to get the offense cooking and moving and these guys in a good mood and all that. And when he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing, this is what happens. And it's kind of coming to the forefront here as the offense has just looked not great.
Yeah, no, it's been rough. I mean, Nick Castellanos has kind of been solid, but JT, I think coming back is still kind of finding his way. So yeah, it's been tough to really get anything rolling offensively. They had their moments, but runners in scoring position wasn't great in Minnesota. So we'll see. We'll see if they can close this series strong against the Guardians, and then you got the Yankees coming to town, and then a really tough road trip.
Yeah.
Seattle, LA, and Arizona.
Yep.
It's a tough. Right now is a 22 game stretch out of the break. We were tracking this on the pregame show. The Pittsburgh series started 22 straight against teams 500 or better. And right now they're 2-5 in that 22 game stretch, and it doesn't get any easier. So they need to get it going, and whoever's healthy enough to play needs to produce.
And it doesn't get easier for everyone that defended the team all season, being like, oh, just because they didn't play anyone over 500, they're still the best team in baseball. And it's like, well, here we go.
Right.
And you had to come out, full pun intended, swinging here, and you just haven't. But it starts today on Saturday. It's hopefully finishes tomorrow, Sunday, and then you have the Yankees coming to town Monday through Wednesday. Huge opportunity to show that you are still the best team in baseball.
Yep.
And kind of leading into that now, I guess Tuesday we'll slide into Tuesday, a little preview. I mean, are they done in the outfield with the Hayes? Are you happy with that? Obviously, like you said, you mentioned earlier, we in the sports business, we don't like to say there's 100%, but there's a 99.9% chance that they will add a reliever at some point before Tuesday.
To answer your first question, I found that interesting. I was listening to Dave Dombrowski yesterday, and he was asked that question. Are you good in the outfield now? You think you're with Hayes? And he gave just I think so. I think we're good. Like, I'm looking at him like, I think if something might be up, you know what I mean? Like, I know Hayes, they hope produces and can play left field, and Marsh and Rojas can cobble together center field, assuming that's the way they want to go. But I don't know. Like, I wouldn't be shocked knowing how Dave Dombrowski likes to kind of fly under the radar. And if there's a big splash to be made out there, I don't think he can have enough bats. Like, I really don't. Like, especially with the way some of these guys are struggling, like, get some more bats. And, if you have to kind of figure out some more platoons or whatever, I wouldn't be shocked to see him get a bat. But I think the bullpen helps coming. And with the Ranger Suarez news, the rotation could be addressed too. So I think multiple deals are on the way in the next 72 hours or so, leading up to Tuesday. Hopefully they need some help in the bullpen with some really like notable arms, like whether that's a Tanner Scott, Kyle Finnegan. I know we've thrown around these names the last couple of weeks, but I think they need some dudes, as Gabe Kapler like to call them, some dudes that can take down some big outs for him in the postseason. I need a couple of those guys. Yeah,
and Tanner Scott has been linked with the Phillies, or the Phillies have been linked with Tanner Scott. I would be very happy with the Tanner Scott trade. Yeah. And obviously, there's reports from Yahoo that came out that said Miller and Painter are untouchable. So, I mean, there goes your big signings maybe, or your big trades. But Crawford and Abel supposedly are available. So, I don't know, man. It's so funny because like everyone is clamoring for that big deal, and we know Dave Dombrowski. And I was reading something that executives all around the league know that he is not done, let alone these small deals. Now, then again, the Lorenzen deal last year, the Marsh deal, like those aren't huge deals, and he hasn't really gotten the big
Syndergaard.
fish. Yeah.
And in 21, I think it was Kyle Gibson and Ian Kennedy.
Yeah. That's a great 100%.
It's kind of been the mid-tier guys.
Yeah. And so I don't know if I don't think it's going to be like a Robert or or a Bellinger or any of those guys, but I do, like I said, it's not, we like to not use 100%, but there's a 99.9% chance that there will be a big name reliever, hopefully in this rotation, especially or in this bullpen, especially after Sir Anthony is gone, right? And and the bullpen, I mean, Strom kind of struggled on Wednesday in the bullpen, but I mean, other than that, the bullpen's been pretty good. But I mean, you could always use just one more arm
for sure. And it was nice to see Alvarado pitch well, and Kirkering as well on Friday. Strom and Hoffman, I'm good with, and I think Alvarado, he's going to be him. So hopefully get back to his kind of higher level of reliability. And Kirkering obviously got a taste of it last year as a young guy in the postseason. So those four, hopefully you feel good about. Soto. It's just tough with him when he's not throwing strikes, but
he has recently. Yeah, recently in his last
I guess
few
I'm
outings.
going off the 1 minute.
But yes, for sure. And that's the thing. Soto's going to be Soto regardless. And if he's your 5th and 6th inning guy, then that's fine with me, especially if you go out and get a name like Tanner Scott or Finnegan or any of these guys. And
postseason bullpen, don't forget about Ranger.
Correct.
They like that. If they can work him in, 2 or 3 days after instead of throwing a bullpen, go out there and take down the 8th inning for us, Ranger. They'll do that. So hopefully he's healthy enough to do it this year. This is troubling news today, but hopefully it's not just a kind of a play it safe type of thing.
Yeah, and I guess going forward, we'll see if that's going to affect him at all. Like I said, as long as he's okay for the end of August, early September, that's fine with me. Heck, keep him down. I mean, they have currently a nine game lead still right now
over the Mets as we sit here. The Mets are in second place.
Bravos,
how about
man. That?
They've lost 6 in a row.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Are we worried about the Mets?
No, I'm not.
No,
I'm not.
I
think the Phillies, as bad as they played, to still be up 9
fine.
games. Get it going. Coast home in September and get that division and take a break during that wild card series week.
We've said it all year.
Healthy.
There's a reason why we feel good is because there's 64 and 39 as we sit down and do this, right? And they have
cushion.
They have cushion. They have all the cushion in the world. You knew it was going to happen. It's the ebbs and flows of baseball. They've been saying it all season long. Rob Thompson said it last night, with a smile on his face. That's just who Rob is. It's the ebbs and flows of baseball. They're going to struggle. They've lost 7 out of 10. They can afford to lose 7 out of 10 because of their hot start. So We'll see. Tyler Phillips on the mound Saturday. Obviously, this is probably a little, what's the word? Evergreen. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah. So 3 hours, but expecting big things from Phillips here. And again, this is probably his toughest test. Obviously, he's at Oakland.
For sure. Yeah.
He's seen the Braves who are struggling, but that was in a relief performance. And then obviously Pittsburgh. Now it's the best team in the American League on Saturday.
Yeah, I don't think this is anything he can't handle. I mean, we'll find out. But the Guardians, they're good, but they're not like a bunch of thumpers in their lineup. Right. They just kind of do the little things, which we saw last night, the safety squeeze and just kind of timely singles and that kind of deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I said it before last time on our last podcast with Corey. I just like the way Phillips competes.
Dude.
Like he's
going to come out there.
And he's like a modern day Rick Metallica. Just me and you, I'm going after you. And I like that. He's talking to himself on the mound. So he's been the stopper. As funny as that is to say the last couple of weeks, he's been the guy that's gotten them wins.
Insane.
Without Tyler Phillips, they could be looking at 1-9 in the last 10 games. So, I think they're in good hands. Play a little cleaner game defensively, start hitting the ball a little bit, and let's try to get a series win and take it on the road, and the Yankees then take it on the road
for sure. And that's what our good buddy Corey says. And it's ball, baby. That's
ball.
That's ball, baby.
Season.
And in the Tyler Phillips story, obviously probably pitching in front of a bunch of family and friends again here on Saturday. So hoping for a lot, but that's gonna wrap us up. You will see us either Monday or Tuesday for a little trade deadline stuff. I'm Spencer McKercher. That is Sean Kane. Thanks for listening. Subscribe and like on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcasts. We'll see you before the trade deadline.